It's time to pull those belts tight, race fans. The front stretch is coming at you, presented by Joe's Karting in Council Bluffs. Now, here's Dan Taylor and Dirk Houston.
Good morning to you, race fans, and welcome to the front stretch, presented by Joe's Karting in Council Bluffs, online at joeskarting.com. Fast-paced, white-knuckle racing just across the river on 23rd Avenue over in Council Bluffs. Get over to Joe's today. Do yourself right with a little fast-paced, white-knuckle racing.
Did you see some of the posts from PRI at the go-kart joint they went to there in Indy? An indoor go-karting place that was 2 levels.
I think I've seen those around on Facebook. If it's not that one, it's another one, but that would be fun.
I'd seen one that was somewhere up on the East Coast, but this one was at Indy, and I don't know if Buddy actually went there because I saw some posts from him from PRI, but Tracy Weber said something about it, and there were a couple guys posting about it, and somebody said, that right-hander at the top of the hill, did you break your ribs on? I can only imagine.
Get more information on the Metro's only indoor karting facility. Actually, it's not the only one. I think Amazing Pizza Machine has one, but those karts do about
2 miles an hour.
3.5 miles an hour on a good day with the right air pressure, air temperature, and
stagger.
And someone pushing the cart.
They're designed for kids.
But great indoor karting facility, and like we were talking about last weekend, this is the time of year where it's great to be indoors. They keep it relatively warm, probably somewhere around the 50s. It would just be way too expensive to keep that place running too hot, and with the way they circulate the air, it's just impossible. So the more they circulate the air, the more the harder it's going to be to keep it warm. But it is a comfortable. Put a jacket on. I always like to wear a pair of gloves when I'm driving. Always makes me feel a little bit cooler, too. I take a little white marker and I draw bones like Dale Earnhardt Jr. had whenever I do that. So get over to Joe's Karting today and do yourself right with a little indoor kart racing.
And hopefully some of you got over there last night and raced with the Bade girls.
Absolutely. That's a cool thing they're doing with that stuff. Today's show, we're going to have Jack Dover lined up, Nebraska 360 Sprint Car Series champion, and finished second in the Nickel Construction Nebraska 360 Point Fund at I-80 Speedway. 45 starts on the year, got 12 wins on the season. We're going to talk to him about his 2018 season, how he felt like it went, and plans for 2019. We know he's already working on that kind of stuff. And as promised last weekend, Bobby Pierce will be joining us. He's done with PRI and doing all that fun stuff, probably getting some sponsors lined up for his new ride. So we'll be talking to Bobby about the decision to leave Dunn-Benson Motorsports and return to his own equipment. And also coming up in the show here in turn number 1, we're going to talk about some some shocking news, really, with the news of the amount of money that the latest charter went for. We talked about it last weekend. Spire Sports and Entertainment purchased the charter from Furniture Row Racing, the 77 cars charter, and we were kind of thinking maybe somewhere in the $1 million to $2 million range, which is what we've typically heard these things have gone for.
Well, we've basically only heard the one for the BK Racing was $2.1 million, and it was involved with some equipment. But that's the only price we've ever really got on one of these until now, and this one's like, whoa, it's an eye-opener.
$6 million, that's a lot of money, and I did a lot of thinking about it. I didn't ever think we would get this far so quickly. Now, like you've said, these charters have been leased and sold on a private basis to where the numbers don't get around very often. And NASCAR is one of those very unique things where a deal is done in baseball and moments later, somebody in the front office leaks that deal. Football, basketball, baseball, all of the sports do it. But in NASCAR, a lot of the times, unless they release this information, it's usually kept pretty hush-hush. Because, I completely agree with this. It's, frankly, nobody's business.
Well, they don't release dollar amounts.
Yeah.
If it's a sponsor, he's coming on for half the season. He's coming on for 20 races. They're coming on for 24 races. But they never give a dollar amount. But everybody that's in the industry, and I mean, all these guys sitting in the offices at Hendricks, at Joe Gibbs, at Roush, they all know about what kind of money that brought. Right. They know what the market value is.
When NASCAR created the charter system, they never set a price. They never said they've got to sell for this amount or this or that. They never set stipulations. They said, this is what you get with your charter.
36 teams have them.
It's a fair market value. And that's always been kind of the big question. If we don't know how much these things were going to go for at the bidding price, first person to sell theirs was Rob Kaufman and Michael Waltrip Racing. And he was the whole reason why this whole system got started in the first place.
Pretty much.
Was because, in my simple opinion, he screwed up his organization, and he wanted to get some money out of what he'd put into it for the last 10 or 15 years. So he went to NASCAR and the RTA and said, we got to create a system to where we can get money if we decide to get out of the sport. And then Rob turned around and didn't get out of the sport. He's involved with Chip Ganassi Racing now, I believe. He's part ownership over there. But anyways, so this Spire Motorsports and Entertainment, and I guess we should say this, it's reported. And the article on J-Ski says, according to sources, which is believed to be the charter was sold for around $6 million. The price has not been previously reported. Spire purchased the charter from a now-defunct Furniture Row Racing in a move first reported by ESPN. Spire said that they will call their team Spire Motorsports, and they're going to run Chevy engines. But they never... This is sources close to the situation, so we don't know how true this is, but typically where there's smoke, there's fire. And if a number like $6 million is being floated around, I would suspect it would be plus or minus $1 million.
Well, as I said originally when I saw this post, I wonder what kind of other assets, a couple chassis, setup plates. If Furniture Row's going under, there's a ton of equipment they don't need that's all got value.
Yeah.
And normally there's just a wholesale. They'll do basically like an estate auction back in Carolina when a team goes under. If they can't sell the whole lot of it together, they'll just auction it off, So
wouldn't they sell that stuff right back to Joe Gibbs Racing or Toyota at that? I mean, you and I talked about it on Facebook, and I think you brought up a very good point. If these guys are going to be running Chevys, how valuable is a Toyota chassis?
The chassis is the exact same in a Chevy or Ford. It does not make any difference. Just the body's different.
And the new rules package coming, none of that's going to matter with the body, the mounting points, anything with the chassis.
Nope. That's the whole idea behind the laser inspection station is it looks at one chassis. Mm-hmm. It looks at one car underneath, 40 times in a weekend. Some
fans have complained about the biggest thing that they don't like about these things is the only real difference between these cars is the front nose piece. Yep. And then a little bit back on the hood and maybe back to the front tires.
Yeah, about the center line of the tires.
Yeah.
And forward is different. The rest of the car's the same.
Yeah. Paint schemes are a little bit different, but that's just a picture on the side of a car. It's not actual anything. So, yeah, I mean, I think you got a good question there of did any assets go with it. I think if assets went with it, we would see it in the article that they would say, the deal was for $6 million, came with a couple of cars, some body stuff.
Like you say, they never say anything. It's all so secretive. When the last one where that $2 million or $2.1 million figure came from was the forced bankruptcy sale for the BK stuff, and that got a charter that they owed like $8 million against. Yeah. To I think it was Union Bank and Trust. I think where they owed all that money on that charter.
They owed $3 million in back payroll taxes.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
I mean, it was. I just went back and reread that article, and I mean, it's the amount of money they owed people was.
It was like $13 million altogether, and they had sold chunks of assets. Like somebody bought a bunch of tools and a couple chassis and stuff. I don't remember which outfit it was. But they sold off bits and pieces, and again, it was all done through the bankruptcy trustee. But the main lot of it all was $2.1 million, and that included their charter.
And because the bankruptcy is public information, that's the only way we know that number.
Exactly.
And that's the only reason why we know of one of these things being sold. Although it's kind of been mumbled around that these charters are going for around $1 to $2 million.
Well,
and again, it's fair market. And, the reason why this is going for $6 million, Dirk, you and I talked about it before we recorded the show last weekend, or maybe it was after the show was over with. That it seems like there's an influx of cars coming in teams coming into the sport right now, and maybe because of that, with Spire Motorsports deciding to come in and they've got an opportunity to get this charter, there was 2 or 3 other teams bidding on this charter, which then drove the price up.
Well, and again, I'm going to go back to the assets because
just the assets in the charter, but it could have turned into a bidding war, is what I was getting
very
to.
Very well could have. But when you sit and you look at a team, literally a brand new team that's coming in. They would need cars. They would need setup plates. They would need all the equipment that Furniture Row has.
Especially this late. But would Furniture Row have a Daytona 500 car or a Las Vegas car ready to go?
They're going to run a Chevy anyway.
But they wouldn't have.
So they're going to have to rebody it.
Yeah.
And they'll be down. They'll be testing at Daytona in January.
That's really what a Daytona 500 car comes down to is the body.
Correct. Absolutely.
So if they bought it from, I'm just trying to think this out in my head as we're having this discussion, there wouldn't be a big advantage to them buying it from Furniture Row unless they got a really good deal on the car itself.
I'm sure Furniture Row had, I'm going to guess, anywhere from 10 to 12 cars sitting there.
Well, maybe not.
Maybe
they only bought the amount of cars they needed from Joe Gibbs Racing.
Well, they might not have been replacing any once they decided they were going under, but I'll guarantee you they had a fleet of a dozen cars.
Yeah.
You know, that's just what it takes. You've got to have a regular car and a primary car. Now we've dealt with Starcom. Mm-hmm. And like when last year when they went out to Phoenix and then they were going to California, well, the California car was the backup car for Phoenix, so they had to switch everything over when they beat up the Phoenix car in qualifying. High money teams don't do that. High money teams had 2 cars for Phoenix and 2 cars for California set up to roll right out. And they're set up eight races in advance on most of that stuff, you know. And a lot of the cars will, you know, they'll say, well, they ran this car at Texas 2 weeks ago because it's their favorite mile-and-a-half car, et cetera, et cetera. But I'm still going to say they had 10 to 12 cars in their fleet, and I'm sure this new outfit was willing to pay up for some of that.
That number feels, I don't think you're wrong they had cars in their fleet. That number feels high to me. If I know mid-season my operation's closing down, I'm not going to have 10 to 12 cars built up. It just seems high to me.
Well, I'm not saying they had complete cars built, but I don't remember them really destroying anything.
Yeah.
You know, in the last half of the year.
When was the last time he was in a wreck? I mean, it wasn't even in the playoffs.
Indianapolis.
Yeah.
And it was the playoffs where Jimmy Johnson took him off the win.
Yeah.
But again, he didn't destroy the cars.
Charlotte too.
Charlotte, not Indy. Charlotte, the Roval. That's what I was thinking of. I just said the wrong track. But that's the race. But no, they didn't destroy a bunch of cars. You know, they got beat up a little bit, but didn't destroy them. So
well, this again, going back to this article last time we'll talk about it. Spire Motorsports purchasing their charter from Furniture Row Racing for $6 million could have involved other things. We don't really know. But those guys, when they originally said that they were coming into the sport and they were going to buy the 77 equipment, they said that we go into boardrooms all the time and we talk about how great NASCAR is. It's time to put up or shut up. And, you know, they're putting up. They're not just, we're going to get a team and we're going to try it. I guess I shouldn't act like this is a huge number. I imagine that Starcom had to spend somewhere in the area of this amount of money to get started. But
again, you know, all they're saying is there's a charter. They're not saying they're getting started.
Right.
If they're just spending if they literally spent just $6 million on the charter, they got another $6 million, you know, to even think about getting to Daytona.
And it's a good investment. I've had this conversation with a lot of people who are against the charter system. It's smart, in my opinion, for a team that's going to come in and say, you know what, we plan on racing 36 races. We're going to be a figure in the sport. A one-time purchase, an investment in your operation that guarantees you a bigger purse than if you made all 36 races but didn't have a charter. Eventually that will pay off, and then it will start to pay off even once the charter's paid for. You'll start to make extra money. And if you're around for 10 years, I can't remember what the longevity clause was where you got a little bit more money for it, but past champions got a little bit extra money. Jimmy Johnson gets paid a little bit better, though that 48 team does because of their longevity in the sport. So it pays off to invest in the sport a little bit like that.
Yeah, but again, if there's a difference between investing $6 million and $1 million or $2 million, you know, especially if the payoff's $1,000 here or $2,000 there, because it's not like they're getting double the purse or something like that.
No, but obviously they see it's worth it. I mean, they wouldn't pay $6 million. They would have walked away from the table.
Yeah, to be locked into the race as a brand new team. Oh yeah.
So then they see that there is something worth paying that money.
Right. Yeah. Because if they're locked into the race, they know they're going out there 36 times. That you can sell to a sponsor.
Right.
You come to the sponsor and say, well, we're going to show up 36 times, but we might not be there on Sunday. Right now, I mean, outside of 1 or 2 races where they're, you know, filling the field.
Well, it's more than that. It's both Daytona races. It's both Talladega races, both Martinsville and Bristol races. Phoenix, Texas, and Homestead were both, or Homestead wasn't a full field. Phoenix was.
But the last couple races at the end, the 97 team, that new one that we can't pronounce their name, they had a car entered.
Yeah.
And they didn't make the cut in Texas because David Starr was behind the wheel, and they didn't make the cut there. I don't remember who drove it at Phoenix, but they did make the show. And they entered at Homestead and then withdrew or something. There was some reason.
That was Carl Long that withdrew.
That was in Texas.
Well, he got caught in Texas, and then he withdrew his car from Homestead because he was supposed to be at Homestead.
Yeah, but there was a couple of them that withdrew, and I think that 97 car was another one of them.
Yeah,
but
there is, to your point, 36 races, and the way I was counting it last night, there's 10 to 12 races a year that are at full fields. And if you're going to be at that amount of car, and hopefully we'll get back to the day where there's 36 races of full fields, but for now we're at about 10 to 12, and those 10 to 12 are the big races that everyone wants to be at the track and in front of. You want to be one of the 40 starting cars at the Daytona 500.
Hopefully we'll be back to the day when there's 55 cars trying for those 40 spots. And they'll be able to bump it back up to a 43 or 44 car field.
Jack Dover, driver of the number 53 Nebraska 360 Sprint car, just around the corner. We'll talk about his championship, his run in 2018, and his plans for 2019. Bobby Pierce, back in his own equipment. We'll talk to him about his decision to leave Dunn-Benson Motorsports in turn number 3. And we're going to talk about some of the local banquets. We haven't talked about that. A lot of the local tracks having their banquets late December, January, into late January, so we wanted to get you updated on that and some of the plans for the show, the Chili Bowl viewing party, all that kind of fun stuff. That'll be coming up in turn number 4. We'll be back on the front stretch.
Every race car driver has run into the same problem. It's well past normal parts store closing hours, but you need that one to finish your car. The guys who brought you White Knuckle Racing by the River bring you Joe's Karting Racing Parts and Tire Store. Open until 10 p.m. Monday to Thursday and open until 11 p.m. on Friday and Saturday. A parts store that fits your after-hours schedule, and you can turn a few laps at Joe's Karting while you're waiting for your part to get pulled from their warehouse. joeskarting.com for more information.
We're hooked up in turn 2 and still showing the green flag on the front stretch.
Hi, Dave Despain with MAV TV, which is your television destination if you're looking for motorsports. Radio, you found it. You're listening to the front stretch.
Welcome back to the front stretch. Rolling into turn number 2, and it's time to talk to a local champion. How many times, Jack, have you won the Nebraska 360 championship?
Oh, shoot, I don't know. 3 or 4 times, I think it is now.
I was thinking 5, but you probably know better than I do.
You might know better than I do.
No.
It might be 5.
No, I don't know better than anybody. We'll say it's 4, but we'll work on number 5 just in case.
It's probably a smaller number if you say how many times haven't you won it.
Yeah.
There you go.
Well, you were able to pick up the win this year, the championship this year. 12 wins on the year, 24 top 5s, and 31 top 10s. Grade your season overall compared to some previous years. Would you give it an A, a B?
I'd give it a B. I mean, our main goal at the beginning of the year was to not have any DNFs, and I think we had a total of 3 or 4. So, I mean, that's a lot better than years previous. And when you don't have DNFs and you're just consistent every night, that's what get you championships. And that's honestly how we ended up winning Nebraska 360s is we were just consistent. I mean, we didn't even win a race at I-80 this year, and normally we win 2 or 3 every year. So
you had you had quite a few races at I-80 that got rained out, though.
Yeah, and I mean, whenever we ran there, we were always in the top 3, I think it was. So
yeah,
definitely a consistent year, and that's what we were trying to stride on, and not having any DNFs, and we were pretty close to not having any.
What did you focus on to kind of remedy some of those DNFs? Was it a different driving style? Was it more prep time, longer time at the shop?
Maintenance, shop time.
Maintenance, yep. Yep, just like everybody says, the races are won in the shop, and I mean, we'd pull our front end and rear end apart after every other race. Where years previous, we'd wait 3 or 4 weeks to do it, and we tried to stay on top of maintenance all year. And I can't thank my guys enough that were there this year to help, and that's Dave and Ben and Alex and couple other friends that have showed up to help and give a hand. So if it wasn't for them, I don't know where I'd be. Yeah, I wouldn't be talking to you guys right now about a championship. I know that.
Yeah, we'd talk to you about something else.
Nah, we don't care. I'm just kidding. You never called me to come help you with the car. Is there something?
He's a smart man. He's heard the rumors.
Yeah. No, sometimes I got too many hands in the pits or in the shop. So
yeah,
I try to limit, and then that's what we were talking about last week. We're gonna sit down and get focused for next year. We're gonna have 3 guys that are full time. I mean, I'm not gonna pay them, of course, because I can't afford to do that yet. But we're gonna have 3 guys, and we're all gonna have assigned jobs. Where right now it's just we kind of wing it right now. So yeah, we're gonna be a little more organized come next year.
Interesting. That's I mean, it makes total sense. Somebody that knows that they got a checklist of things they have to get done each night, and they're not jumping around, something's not getting missed because I thought he did it and he thought he did it. And
yeah, I mean, I think that was a case of one of our DNFs this year is somebody didn't do something and the other person thought they did, and that got us a DNF. So I think we're pretty close on our program right now. Like I said, we just got to get a little more organized, and I think it'll make everybody's jobs a lot easier if we're more organized. So we're going to sit down here the next couple weeks and get a game plan on all that.
You raced in the 305 a little bit, quite a bit in the 360. I don't believe you ever got around in a 410, did you, this year?
No, we never did run a 410, but come January 1st, I think I'm gonna pull the plug and build a brand new one, so I don't have to look for one every year at Nationals, and we can go run whenever we want.
Pretty good run at the 360 Nationals. I think you weren't able to make it out of the C?
The B.
The B. Yeah,
Yep.
I mean, that's and it's a lot of times when somebody says, well, I couldn't make it out of the B, you think, oh, geez, but when they start an E feature for those, and that's a tough race to get through as it is, but you made it into the B and almost qualified for the A.
Yeah, you're exactly right. I mean, when there's 100 or 98 cars, whatever there is, I mean, to finish fifth in the B out of So that puts me, say, 25th out of 98 cars. I think that's a pretty respectable weekend. I mean, even though we didn't make the A main, I still consider us 25th and out of all the guys in the country. So
yeah, especially at Knoxville. Yeah. Everybody brings their A game to Knoxville, or certainly tries to.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to go over there and beat the local guys that run there every week. And I mean, that place, it looks easy to figure out, but it's definitely one of the hardest tracks to drive.
Couple of the competitors on the Nebraska 360 schedule found themselves over at Knoxville a little bit more often this year. Your buddy Cody Ledger and Shaylee Bate also. Have you ever considered running more frequently over there so you can get a little more seat time before the 360 Nationals?
I've thought about it, but I try to go where the money is and where my chances of winning are. I mean, I'm trying to make this a thing where I make a little bit of money or at least break even. So, I mean, I went over there one night and ran fifth, and I think I only got like $350. So our local series pays a lot better, so I try to stick with them.
Yeah, I hear that. And what Alan Dehigh did for the fund this year was pretty amazing and added a little bit more money to it. But still, when you talk about the cost of running a 360 on a weekly basis, especially on a big motor-eating track like Knoxville can be, that doesn't go very far.
No, I mean, it's a 3-hour drive over and a 3-hour drive back, so there's 6 hours. You probably got $300 in fuel, and then you figure $100 in pit passes, that's $400, and then I've figured it up. It cost me about $650 just to drop my door every night, so I'm already at $1,000 right there. So
yeah.
It's all money, and I mean, if I had unlimited funds, we'd definitely be over there more, so we could maybe get in the top 5 in the A main at Knoxville Nationals.
Hey, if Dave Despain had his way, he'd give every driver an ATM card that had no line on it, so you'd have what you want
and no payback.
There you go.
Yeah. Well, what you kind of talked about a little bit. You're planning on building a new 410. What else do you have already kind of in the tentative plans for 2019?
I got a person that's gonna rent one of my cars next year for 2 months and travel along with me and race. So we'll be fielding 2 cars next year for 2 months, and I'm also thinking about building a 305 rental car. So like if somebody ever gets a wild hair and decides they just want to go out to Eagle one night and race, they can come to me and I'll rent them a car and take them out there and go racing. I haven't really put together a schedule as far as what I'm gonna do next year, but come January 1st, we're going to work real hard on getting that done. We're just kind of waiting on other tracks and other series to get finalized on their schedules. So there's a lot of things in the works. Just got to put them all together now.
You want to tell me who this guy is that wants to rent your car for 2 months, or you cannot tell me yet?
I can't release that yet.
This guy never tells us anything.
Yes, he does.
I got to keep everybody on their toes.
You never come on and break any news for us.
Yeah, well, I kind of broke the news, but
yeah.
I can't say yet because we're still like in the final steps of finalizing everything. And once that's all finalized, we're going to put out a press release on it mid-January, and then everybody will know.
All right, you'll have to come back on mid-January then.
I think it's Carl Edwards making his comeback.
Yeah.
You got Christopher Bell sitting down in your car?
No.
Rico Abreu? Is Brody? Is Brody coming back from Australia?
Dan Taylor.
Oh, yeah. Woo! That's a winner right there.
Lieutenant Dan Taylor.
Oh. No.
It should be a pretty exciting year. I mean, all my sponsors are back on board for next year. So I got some good fundings there and some good people behind me. And we're just going to go out and have fun. And like I said, we're going to try to be consistent, more organized, and hope for championships and wins.
Carpetland, Liquid Trucking, and Certified Back also?
Carpetland, Backlund Plumbing, Triple S Motorsports, Liquid Trucking, Certified Transmission, Langfeld Overhead Doors. Yeah, I think we got like 28 sponsors or partners overall, and they're all back on board.
28. Any big wins in 2018 that you got to mark off your list that you're really excited about?
Yeah, I mean, that's what I was going to say when we were talking about Knoxville. Is, I mean, Terry McCarroll won Knoxville Nationals, and he was up at Jackson Nationals for that 3-day show that we won. And we won the first night, ran third the second night, and won the final night. And we were able to beat Terry McCarroll. So, I mean, that shows you right there. Knoxville is also luck, I'd say.
Yeah, well, if you're using Nebraska Cornhusker math, right there, you're a Knoxville Nationals champion. So.
Yeah, exactly. So. No, I'd say Jackson Nationals was it was the biggest one
Yeah, that's a big win.
Won this year. Yeah, I think we walked out of there with like $14,100 that weekend, so that was a really good weekend, and really had no major failures this year. I never even knocked out a front end or had any motor issues. We just went through 8 nose wings somehow. I don't know how we did that, but
that's gotta be, but not having those big issues like you had in 2017, that's got to be a pretty big accomplishment for you.
Yeah, I mean it's huge. I mean it's definitely nice to go to the bank account and like right now I'm starting to order parts and there's some money in there to spend, and so.
You didn't have to blow it all in repairs.
Yeah, it definitely made the season a lot easier. So, I mean, Jackson Nationals was my biggest one, and then that 2-day show up at Wagner, South Dakota, we were able to win both nights up there. So those are probably my 2 biggest ones that were pretty outstanding this year.
So you're talking about buying parts already. Are you making a front wing order in bulk?
Well, I went through 8 of them this year, and I got to the end, and I had 1 left, so I had to buy 5 more. So I got 5 new ones sitting there. I don't have to worry about nose wings right now.
You had issues with top wings too, didn't you?
Yeah, that was the first race year, and then the guy that made them, he came down and fixed them, and we ran them 4 or 5 nights after that. And one of my sponsors said, "Let's just go back to the old stuff that we know works and you're comfortable with." So we went back to the old manufacturer and bought 3 of those, and never really had a problem since.
Mm-hmm. It's funny, you never really think about that, but as soon as that wing broke, your car was done for the night. I mean, and it was one of those simple ones that it's not, compared to the rest of the car, it's not really an expensive part, but it is a very important aerodynamic part.
Yeah, I mean the wings that I was trying at the beginning of the year, they definitely worked good, but I think it was just one of those deals. I switched too many things at once. I mean, like I switched chassis manufacturers and torsion bar manufacturers, and I went and tried different wing manufacturers. I should have done one step at a time, and I mean that probably cost us another DNF like we were talking earlier, but sometimes you just got to try those things to get an edge on people.
JackDoverRacing.com, you get more information on his plans for 2019. He'll break them there. Won't break them here, but he'll break them there. Do a press release. Follow him on Facebook, Jack Dover Racing, but always do love talking to you. You know I'm just giving you a hard time.
I know. I appreciate you guys having me on. I like this kind of interview. I mean, you guys like to have fun, so that's what I like about it.
Well, it helps that we've been drinking, so.
Oh, geez. You didn't even invite me?
No, you said you couldn't come into the studio. You had to do it over the phone. We figured you'd be drinking wherever you were at.
You might have trouble.
Maybe I'm too busy. Maybe I'm at the bar right now.
I was going to say, if you were in here, well, just being over the phone, you might have tough time passing a breathalyzer. Not saying anything, but you know.
And of course, after talking to us, you're going to need to go to the bar.
Yeah.
All right, buddy. Have a great off season. We'll see you in a couple of weeks at the NE360 banquet.
You going to be there?
Oh, yeah.
Awesome. And then another thing that I never got to touch on is we're also going to be running the shootout in the mini sprints. We're going to run the outlaw class and non-wing outlaw class. And then 2 weeks after that, we're going to run the Chili Bowl.
No kidding.
You're doing the Chili Bowl.
Yep.
There you go.
Have you ever done it before?
I did it back in 2008 and did not have any luck at all. I wrecked every time I went on the track.
Well, in a midget, that's not that hard to do.
Yeah, and the car I was driving, I wasn't really comfortable in. I was kind of really tight in there since I'm 6'5". Those cars really ain't made for me. But I got the opportunity. I got a phone call 2 weeks ago from Randy Washburn and C.J. Johnson out of Kansas, and they asked me if I wanted to drive their car as a tall cage. So I'm going to go down there this weekend and put my seat in and make sure we fit, and we're going to go down and have fun.
Well, that's the important thing. Go down and have a little bit of fun. Try to stay away from that Ledger trailer. I hear things get a little rambunctious over there.
You better save your liver up until you go down and hang around those guys.
I was going to say, I better quit drinking right now so I'm all saved up.
You got to dry out so you can wet back up again.
Yeah.
All right, do a good job of keeping us updated on the Facebook page, will you?
Yeah, I'll definitely do that. And like you said, if everybody out there listening, follow me on jackedoverracing.com or Jackedover Racing Facebook, and we'll keep everybody up to date.
Order your apparel there too?
Yeah, we actually got a new website designed here a couple months ago, and we got a apparel store there. So you can go there and get your shirts or hoodies or hats, or you can go to dirtshirtsusa.com, and that's where all my old stuff goes. And you can buy shirts pretty cheap there also.
Yeah, I think I'm going to get a couple of shirts off there once the next paycheck comes in and I'm done buying Christmas presents.
There you go.
Because I know I need another Jacked Over shirt in my closet.
Actually, we're probably next week we're going to send our 2018 order over to them. So if you wait a week, you can get the 2018 shirts for probably $5 cheaper than what I'd sell them for right now.
Uh-oh.
That's worth it. All right,
cheaper.
I'll do
That's
that.
right up Dan's alley.
Now you're talking my language.
That's more beer money.
All right, buddy. Have a great one. We'll talk to you soon.
I appreciate you guys having me. Thank you.
Have a good holiday, Jack.
You too.
Bye. Jack Dover, driver of the number 53, certified transmission, liquid trucking.
360 sprint car.
Carpet Nebraska 360 sprint car. Won the 2018 championship. He'll be accepting that trophy coming up in just a couple of weeks. January 25th is the Nebraska 360 banquet. You can get tickets on My Race Pass if you want to go to that banquet, meet all the Nebraska 360 top 10s, and have a good night. Dinner, beer, slideshow, Jack Dover, Stu Snyder, Shaylee Baden.
Jack's 2019 looks like he's driving everything as long as it don't have doors on it.
That's the way. He's kind of that guy, isn't he?
Oh,
That's the kind of driver we like.
305s, 360s, building the big motor.
Put
and
me behind it, I'll drive it.
Going to drive a mini sprint, going to drive a midget. I mean, he's got it all going on this year.
Bobby Pierce, just around the corner. We'll talk to him in a minute. We'll be back on the front stretch.
We all have that coworker that runs their mouth off at how great they are. They shot a 5 under par, 95-mile-an-hour fastball, bench press 375, brah. Wouldn't you love to shut them up by schooling them at Joe's Karting? Council Bluffs' premier indoor karting track, professionally designed so each corner is your opportunity to embarrass your coworker. Call Buddy for your next company outing at 712-256-5278. Joe's Karting, white knuckle racing, just across the river on 23rd Avenue next to AMC 17.
If you love wings, if you love rings, and all kinds of other tempting things, great times, great food, get to Quaker Steak and Lube.
Quaker Steak and Lube is the official watering hole of the front stretch and the home of MAV TV, featuring action from the Lucas Oil Late Model Series.
Great times, great food, get to Quaker Steak and Lube.
Located on Mid-America Drive in Council Bluffs.
Feather the brake and get back to the gas. Dan and Dirk are headed into turn 3 on the front stretch.
Welcome back to it. Rolling into turn number 3, and we were trying to get this guy on the show last weekend, but unfortunately this whole thing called PRI won out, and we weren't able to get it done, but we're bringing him to you this week. Bobby Pierce, driver of the number 32, Pierce Motorsports, late model, joining us on the show. Bobby, how you doing, bud?
Doing good. Getting the cars ready for Arizona right now. PRI was fun, but yet busy and stressful weekend like it always is. But
yeah.
I'm glad that I'm home and we're working on the cars, getting them ready. I'm really excited for Arizona. Looking forward to it.
Well, you had a good weekend over at the Gateway Dirt Nationals, picking up the win over there, winning the preliminary night, and then also picking up the big win on feature night. Talk about your weekend in St. Louis.
For the late model, everything went just as planned. Set fast time in the second half and won the heat race, won Friday night, the preliminary feature, that was $5,000. Started on the pole, redrew the pole. I could have started 1 through 8, 1st through 8th, and luckily, we drew the 1. And from there, I just had to hang on and, just had to focus on not messing up, hit the holes right, ride the bull, and, ride to victory. But it was a little rough out there. I'm glad everything stayed together. And as far as everything else, I was just jumping from one car into the next since I went triple duty, racing the modified and the midget and the late model. And that was a lot of fun. I think it kind of, made me better in the late model because every time I get in something else, it wasn't my comfort zone. So then when I got back in the late model, I was really comfortable in it. And heck, I had more laps there probably than anybody, even with missing practice on Friday night or Thursday night with the midget. They couldn't figure out what was wrong, and finally they figured it out, and out of everybody there, I was the one that needed the most laps for practice of the midget guys, and I didn't get it. But that was pretty interesting, jumping straight into that, straight into qualifying with it. I I didn't do too hot in the midget. It was just a big learning curve, and heck, those things are so different to drive, with them being so short, and they're just so spunky, the response, since it's so lightweight and small, it's just a lot different feel than the late model. And, with the late model, you have that front end feel. Didn't really have that with the midget, so I was a little lost. And the Modify was a lot of fun. I feel like I could have made that show. I wouldn't have got caught up in the wreck on Friday night and had to come from deep in the Conci on Saturday and was right there. I just couldn't get it.
So that was your first time in the midget?
Yeah, well, it basically was my first time because before that, I drove a midget one time at another one of Cody Summers' races, which was Indy Invitational, and that track was super small. It was about the size of, I don't know, your bedroom or something, but it was not really a racetrack. It was couldn't really get on the gas. So this was basically my first time in the midget. Yeah, it was on a basketball court. So, and they did a good job. I was actually telling somebody, I told Cody this before too, that I'm the only driver that has been to every single one of Cody Summers' races, which is pretty cool.
There you go. There you go. Did anybody get any pictures of you with Rico Abreu on your shoulders?
No, and funny thing is, I can't remember if I talked about that or if somebody with my group or whatever talked about that like a year ago. They're like, yeah, you should go out there with Rico, something with Rico, and heck, Scott did it this year, so that was pretty funny.
Could you notice a difference in the track for that late model feature when as they've added the midgets to the bill? Did it tear up the track a little bit different and make it more ruddy or more smooth? Did it do anything different?
Well, I figured that the midgets would kind of make the bottom more slick, or maybe make it take rubber. But heck, this time they said that the dirt came in super wet because it snowed on it. So I guess they must set the dirt outside. It's not in a building or anything. So it came in really wet, and all weekend it was just super tacky, which made it get rough. And the midgets, I don't think they late models and modifieds, they really dig in the ground, and that's kind of what ruts it up the most. They're so heavy, and just the force entering the corner with them things, the right rear digging the ground, and the midgets didn't really affect the track that much. And heck, when the late model feature got over, they went back out there and tried to make the track a little bit smoother for them, and Bell put on a show on top, and he was pretty hard to beat in the midgets. It seems like anywhere it goes now. And then for the modified feature, finally after the midgets got it a little bit slicked off, not a whole lot. The modified feature was really good, so I really wanted to be in that race because I think I could have came from the back to the front. But all weekend it was a little tacky. I don't know why. But
would you be a proponent of the midgets coming back for 2019?
Oh yeah, I think. I think they put on, arguably the best show there because heck, that's a midget track. It's
exactly
small, and they fit on it so well compared to late models and modifieds. And heck, we still put on a heck of a show too if the track's right. It's just it's harder for us because we're so big out there and wide that even when you get a run on somebody, they kind of wash out to the wall, and it's hard to kind of do something with them sometimes. But I think if the late models ran last that night, I think they would have put on a heck of a show because that top finally came in. The bottom got slick enough for the top to really get going. And I think the midgets are pretty cool to see there.
Well, I know last year they continuously reworked the track. I want to say about every 3 races or so they were out, tearing it up and repacking it and stuff. And when you guys got to your feature, and last year you started on the outside, but the high side lasted, I'm going to say 6 to 8 laps, and then it was pretty much done.
Yeah, and last year the track was a lot different. It was super slick on the bottom, and this year they couldn't get that at all. So this year was a lot like the very first year they had it. It was kind of rough and pretty wet the whole time, but I don't know. I guess, they said that the dirt came in super wet, and I don't know if they could find some better dirt because that stuff just kind of seems hard to work with. It's kind of like motocross dirt. It's kind of meant to rut up.
Well,
you're meant to pack very well.
You're taking the dirt out of its element by putting it in a building, so it doesn't have the sun beating on it or anything else. So that definitely changes characteristics.
Well, earlier this year, you guys made the big announcement that you're going to be leaving Dunn-Benson Motorsports at the conclusion of the 2018 Lucas Oil Late Model Series. Can you kind of talk a little bit about the decision to leave? Was it yours? Was it theirs? Was it amicable? And the thought about going back home to your to Bobby Pierce Racing?
Yeah, it was. It was mostly my decision. They wanted to keep me still, and I had a really good year with them. Even though we sometimes fell out a lot of races, but heck, we were in contention to win a lot of the big races this year, and still ended up we won a few, and heck, I-80,
Yeah.
was a heartbreaker for us.
We were there.
Would have definitely won that.
I think that engine's still blowing up, by the way.
Yeah, right. Still running. But yeah, it was just kind of it just wasn't really what I was looking for. I know Devin, it'll probably fit him really well, and especially with his brother Wiley as one of his crew guys. It's a good job for him, and me and Devin are good friends, and yeah, I think he'll have a good year with them. It just, like I say, it wasn't what I was looking for. I wanted to kind of get back home more. They were kind of wanting me to be there more, and just, I don't know. I didn't really know going into it what it was going to be all about, so I just, figured I'd try it. And, being able to run the whole Lucas Series was super cool, and I like the Lucas Series, don't get me wrong. It's just it is a lot of traveling, and especially when the cars and everything in North Carolina, that's 13 hours away from me, and I like to work on my stuff, and all the time I also like to be home. So it's just kind of a mixture of things, I feel like if I can do it on my own, luckily with the sponsors that I have now, supporting me and everything, I feel like I can do that. So, at the end of the day, I'd rather be somebody that owns a lot of stuff than just carrying a helmet bag around,
Have you thought about going back and trying to run the whole Lucas Oil Series with your own equipment?
Yeah, I've definitely thought about that. Next year we're not going to do that, but it's definitely something I'll be thinking about, for other years up ahead. And, I think we definitely have some sponsorship to run it. It takes a lot of work, and you got to have a great crew to do that, and very dedicated crew and all that. And, but yeah, we'll still get around, to, heck, we'll be at a lot of Lucas shows and a lot of World of Outlaw shows this year. We'll probably run Summer Nationals also. And, heck, I always have about a 80 to 85 race schedule, and it's, we'll get around all the big races, go back to I-80, I'm guessing.
Well, 'cause I know there's some truck race up in Eldora about the same time as I-80 that's kept you away from there that you enjoy.
Yeah, and with Mike Mittler, who I drove the truck for, he hasn't been doing very well with his cancer, and that's who I've always drove every single truck race for, and with that, he's getting out of it, so I don't really know how much interest I'll have in the Eldora truck race because Mike's kind of hanging it up. But and I-80 is a hard race to turn down. It's heck one of the biggest crown jewels, I think, and it's a great place. So I like going there.
Well, and you had it figured out last year.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Heck, we got it figured out. That was my first time there, so. Ready to get back.
I've heard that there is works for the 10th annual Silver Dollar Nationals to have a considerable bump in purse. So maybe you want to come for 19 and get some more experience, and then come and win it in 20, and that way you can take home a massive payday.
There you go. Looking forward to it.
I hate to circle back around, but I didn't get this question asked, and I kind of want to see if it factored in. But your decision to leave Dunn-Benson, did the tire test and the whole situation around the Dream, did that factor in your decision to leave?
Oh no, that tire deal was just it was just a fluke deal. That shouldn't have happened.
Yeah.
That's still what I believe, and we all took the lie detector test and everything. Unfortunately, I wasn't there at the shop that week, so I wasn't, definitely able to say, oh yeah, and I was there, I saw everything. But I don't think they would do anything like that, and that's just it did make them kind of mad with UMP and World of Outlaw. They didn't really trust running the series anymore after that because they knew they didn't do anything wrong, and someone still had to pay a fine. Luckily, they got the fine paid, and I was able to race races like the World 100 and all sorts of other big, World of Outlaw, UMP races towards the end of the year. And, they're very focused on winning a Lucas Oil Championship. That's what, Carlton and really wanted. And so Kemp's definitely now trying to, he's trying to get there. And, hopefully next year, I wish him the best of luck. But, with me, like I like to race all them races, and yeah, they were kind of, after that, they weren't very, they weren't really wanting to race UMP races, World of Outlaw races. And like I said, all them races are pretty important to me. So that was kind of a little hard on me to, say, well, it sucks we're going to miss those races. So then I had to borrow a truck and trailer and get my own stuff ready. Because both of those rocket cars, my parents owned. And we just, we took one of them back so I could race the World and, some other races that my sponsors wanted me to be at.
Well, I remember seeing a picture on your Facebook page with the open trailer and stuff. I think you were heading to Davenport, Iowa, or somewhere like that.
Right, right, yeah.
That was like right after the week or two after the I-80 race. It was like, well, look at that.
Yeah. It made it kind of tough, but I mean, at the same time, I understood where they were coming from, but yeah, it did make it kind of tough on me, definitely some of my sponsors too that wanted to see me at certain races and yada yada. But
well, you've kind of dominated that Hell Tour for several years now, so I know you're looking to get back to that.
Yeah, it's right in my backyard, basically. A lot of fun races, good paying money to win.
Yeah, we'd love to have you back at I-80 for the Silver Dollar Nationals. It's obviously our best opportunity to see these guys. And man, I mean, I got a real kick out of, I don't know if you're still dating her, but the girl that was with you that night, she was pretty upset. She was pretty upset that the Silver Dollar Nationals was an 80-lap feature, not a 75-lap feature.
I know, right?
I thought she was going to punch me.
Yeah.
Would she have? She looked a little mean. Was she kind of that way?
Does she work out with your sister?
Does she hit you, Bobby?
No. And she's all good now. She's got a new dog.
Okay.
She got a dog the other day.
All right. Well, if you happen to lead 77 laps of next year's Silver Dollar Nationals and blow another engine, I'll just bring a dog down to the pits to make everything right.
All right. Yeah. She's right here. She's like, is that Silver Dollar Nationals people? Yeah. They say you're steaming hot mad.
I got the beat button ready to go just in case.
And you got to pass along a word to your dad. We still want to get him on the show. We tried several times last year, but with the schedule, like you said, with him, traveling and working his tail off to help you and everything, we never got that done. But we still want to speak with him one of these days.
Yeah, definitely. He'll talk forever, probably.
Oh, I know. I figured that out just setting up trying to talk to him.
Those are our favorite kinds of interviews, though. I mean, I love talking to Scott Bloomquist because you ask him 3 questions, you got a 45-minute interview.
Yeah, just don't tell him you're going to
I used to be a lot worse. I'm getting a little bit better now.
You are getting better. We've talked to you several times, and you're lighting up a little bit. I like this. You can come back on our show anytime, I suppose.
Sweet. I like it.
There you go. Add that to your list of accomplishments because that's a big one.
That's right.
I can go to the Omaha, Nebraska show anytime I want. Talk to me about 2019. What's the tentative plans right now? I'm sure you're going to hit the big ones, doing the Hell Tour again.
Yeah, we're we're starting off at Arizona. After that will be, I might go to New Zealand actually, to drive a Super Saloon again. Kind of try and work that out. That'll be right after Arizona, and then we're going to we might skip Florida. I'm not sure. And then after that, we'll try to get to all the big races we can. We'll run the Summer National schedule most likely. Just like I said, getting all the big races we can, trying to win as many shows as we can. A lot of big shows, a lot of crown jewels. So hoping for a good year.
It sounds like you're kind of doing this freelance thing where it might be a little bit freeing that you're not locked down to one schedule.
Yeah, and that's kind of what I've done, in the past, before last year, kind of just, go to races we want to. And, with the Summer Nationals, that's, you got to run all them nights, but heck, that only lasts about a month and a half, so, heck, it's 30 races in that time, but still not a very long time. So then the rest of the year, you can decide wherever you want to go. And, running points, it is good. You get, like benefits, at the end of the year, they have all sorts of different, contingency stuff you can win and things like that, but it also is good to not have to worry about points as much and kind of just go where you want.
There's enough stress in racing that being free to decide when to go and where to go probably relieves a lot of that stress.
Yeah, and you never really know where certain sponsors might want you to go, and if you're locked down to a schedule and you can't, it's kind of sometimes better to be able to go where you want, but. Like I said, also, if you're running points, it has its positives and negatives.
Call Hooker Trucking and make sure he comes to I-80 Speedway. Got it. Okay.
Yeah.
Now, with that Summer Nationals tour, it's like 28 races in 30 days or something crazy like that. How often in that stretch are you going, man, I hope it rains tonight? You're a driver. I know you don't ever want that, but You got to somewhere. I mean, I remember when I was working with NASCAR and would work a 12-race stretch, and I'd go, man, I hope they cancel this week.
There are some nights in the past where I've been like, oh, I hate this place. I hope it rains out. And that place races, and then you go somewhere you really love to go, and it rains out, and it's just, it makes you so mad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You got to get your timing right on your wishes.
Yeah. And sometimes, when you're down on, spare parts or whatever, and you need to go back to the shop really bad to fix stuff, you're definitely hoping, for a rain out sometimes. But, heck, the last time we were on the Summer Nationals in 2017, we had 0 DNFs and everything went super smooth. So, heck, if that's how it could always be, then I'd love that.
There you go.
I want to race every night.
There you go. All right, BobbyPierceRacing.com for more information. You can also check out their latest apparel. You guys put up some new stuff and even some Gateway Dirt Nationals merchandise that you can get on BobbyPierceRacing.com/store. Make sure to thank some of the sponsors to get you up and down the road. I know you got a lot of big ones.
Yeah, well, I'll start off. I got some new ones this year. Digital Copy Systems. That's Tim Lance. He also races. First Spear, I got to think Leka Tree Service, and Ted Brown's Quality Paint Body Shop, they're back on this year. And then I got to think Allgate Incorporated, Hoker Trucking, Premier Waste Services, Carnegie Towing, Burgers Marina, try not to forget too many people right now, but and all my product sponsors, heck, just got back from PRI, obviously, and definitely went around thanking all them, trying to get more deals. Got to give a huge thanks to everybody, and I also do a sponsor shout out just about once a day on my Facebook. So if you're not following me on Facebook, got updates and everything on there, and you already gave my website a shout out, so there you go.
All right. Appreciate it a lot. Bobby Pierce going to be in the number 32 for Bobby Pierce Racing again in 2019. I don't know if you've noticed, we hope to see you back for the Silver Dollar Nationals. If not, we'll have to catch you at the Gateway Dirt Nationals next year, or maybe at some of the big races.
Knoxville.
Yep.
All right, Bobby.
We'll see what the schedule comes out to be, and yep.
We'll talk to you soon. Appreciate your time, bud.
Yep, thank you.
Have
Thanks,
a great
man.
holiday season.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas to you too.
Bye.
Bye.
Once again, BobbyPierceRacing.com for more information, and to follow him on Facebook, Bobby Pierce Racing on Facebook.
One of the talented young drivers that are out there. There's many of them.
Yeah.
But this guy can get it done. He can wheel.
How many times has somebody said this, but I would love to see him in a Joe Gibbs ride or a GMS ride, a big-time ride up in NASCAR, because I think he could make waves. But that doesn't mean he has to get up there. He's on the late model level. He is one of the top young drivers. He is going to be the Jimmy Owens, the Scott Bloomquists, the Jonathan Davenports in probably 4 or 5 years.
Well, he's already those guys as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah.
Other than the truck race at Eldora, he's not qualified to run anything.
Mm-hmm.
Because NASCAR's got their step ladder, and I understand it, but I'm thinking when a guy's got this kind of caliber, he ought to be able to climb in a car, maybe not a cup car and go to Daytona, but he ought to be able to run a cup car at Martinsville or, something like that, or at least an Xfinity car somewhere. I mean, he's got just as much talent as what Kyle Larson has, in my opinion, or
Absolutely.
what Carl Edwards had or Tony Stewart had.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe even, he's more accomplished than those guys, in the dirt late model, because they were all open wheel guys. But, if he ever gets his shot, I'm sure he'll make it work.
We're going to take a break. We'll be back in turn number 4. We're going to wrap this baby up on the front stretch.
Hey, look at that. You're sitting on your couch playing Halo, Madden, or NASCAR while your friends are at Joe's Karting. Each lap is an adrenaline-filled, heart-pumping, white-knuckle experience that you can only get at the Metro's largest indoor karting track. Eco-friendly Honda engines rip you around the professionally designed road course at breakneck speeds. Can you reach the 14-second lap bracket? There's only one way to find out. Put the controller down and get to Joe's Karting, 23rd Avenue in Council Bluffs next to Quaker Steak and Lube.
It's checkers or wreckers as we enter turn 4 on the front stretch, presented by Joe's Karting in Council Bluffs.
Welcome back to it. Just about ready to wrap this baby up. Thanks to Quaker Steak and Lube, the official watering hole of the front stretch. Get over the lube today. Get yourself right with some delicious wings, burgers, all sorts of great food, cold beers, whatever you could desire. It's over at Quaker Steak and Lube, along with MAV TV, football, all sorts of great stuff. I think, is basketball on right now?
What's that?
I don't know.
Yeah.
If you're a basketball fan, they'll throw that up on the big screen for you also.
But make sure you go after Joe's Karting, because you don't want to shake and stir all that food in the go-kart.
Absolutely. You don't want chicken wings coming out as you're going around the corner.
No, because you've got a closed-face helmet on, so they don't have anywhere to go.
God. Oh, I forgot all about that. That's a lovely image for the day. Hey, real quick before we wrap up today's show, wanted to go through some of the banquets that we have coming up in the next month to month and a half. Eagle Raceway just around the corner at the Lancaster Event Center. They're going to honor their 2018 champions on January 5th. You can get tickets at eagleraceway.com. Adams County Speedway up next to January 19th. They're going to be at the Prescott Eagles Nest. So you can get tickets for that on raceacs.com. Nebraska 360 banquet coming up Friday, January 25th. We talked to Jack Dover. He's going to be honored along with the top 10 for the Nebraska 360s. You can get information on that and tickets at My Race Pass. Find them on the open market there, or just go to Facebook. Nebraska 360s posted a link to it. Then we have the I-80 Speedway Banquet at the Millard Social Hall on January 25th. That one usually sells out, so you're going to want to get those tickets in advance because don't want to wait and try to get them that night. It usually sells out, so get your tickets to that.
And
that's going to be on the 26th.
I did just see they posted on Facebook today that the ticket sales end January 11th.
Okay. So you got a couple of weeks for that. January 26th for the I-80 Speedway Banquet at the Millard Social Hall, catered by Eddie's. Delicious food. I mean, it's fantastic. And then other than a banquet, we've got the Lucas Oil Chili Bowl coming up. Kicks off January 15th, rolls through the 19th, and we are going to be putting together a viewing party. So if you don't want to pay for lucasoiltv.com and get a subscription to that, then you can come down to Quaker Steak and Lube, enjoy the great food. We're going to be having that going on, and that I believe that race kicks off sometime around, the whole event will kick off sometime around 7 or 7:30, and we'll go through and watch the final consies and then the feature event, and probably watch Christopher Bell win it again.
Yeah, I'm, it just comes down, there's so much luck involved in that whole deal, Yeah,
with a lot of these races, there's so many cars that you have to finish good in your heat race. You have to draw well in order to qualify up to the front, and then you have to hold on to it. And if you don't make it up in the front 4 or 5 rows, it's really tough to get your way through it. But it can be done.
It can be done, and hopefully it will be done by somebody.
Want to say a big thank you to Jack Dover for joining us at turn number 2. You can find him, jackdoverracing.com, and, of course, Bobby Pierce, the smooth operator. Find him at bobbypierceracing.com. Thank you to everybody for joining us. Thanks to Joe's Karting for sponsoring the front stretch, as they always do. Thanks to Quaker Steak and Lube. And all of the prizes for the Pick'ems contest are sent out, so you should be receiving those. If you haven't gotten yours yet, or you haven't gotten an email, send me an email real quick, because more than likely we've miscommunicated at some point in time.
And there'll be a big announcement coming with Pick'ems contest here in the next week or two. So
yeah, I got to get to work on those rules, don't I? Not like there's going to be a lot of changes. I just got to change the date.
There you go.
Control replace.
Yeah, but we've got the other thing we've been talking about. So
For Dirk Houston, I'm Dan Taylor. This has been The Front Stretch. We'll see you all next weekend right here on the Metro's only all-racing talk show on AM 590, Omaha's ESPN Radio.
Every race car driver has run into the same problem. It's well past normal parts store closing hours, but you need that one to finish your car. The guys who brought you White Knuckle Racing by the River bring you Joe's Karting Racing Parts and Tire Store. Open until 10 p.m. Monday to Thursday and open until 11 p.m. on Friday and Saturday. A parts store that fits your after-hours schedule, and you can turn a few laps at Joe's Karting while you're waiting for your part to get pulled from their warehouse. joeskarting.com for more information.
The official watering hole of the Front Stretch has you covered any day of the week with the best wings, great burgers, and amazing steaks. Each weekday from 4 to 6 is happy hour, featuring $1 off draft and well drinks plus $4 Luberitas. Mondays are kids' night. Tuesdays are all-you-can-eat wings for $12.95, and the lube even delivers to the Council Bluffs area. Like Quaker Steak and Lube Council Bluffs on Facebook for a full list of weekly events.
Get to Quaker Steak and Lube.
Mid-America Drive, Council Bluffs.
This has been the Front Stretch Radio Show, presented by Joe's Karting in Council Bluffs. To contact Dan or Dirk, find them on Facebook at The Front Stretch or email them at frontstretch590@gmail.com. If you missed any part of today's show or want to hear a previous show, subscribe to the Joe's Karting YouTube page, where you can find almost every Front Stretch show.